It was supposed to be a perfect day. Dinosaur decorations filled the house. A homemade T-Rex cake stood proudly on the table, and the sound of children laughing echoed from the backyard. The smell of grilled hot dogs mingled with the warm spring air, and I had Ethan, my little boy, perched on my shoulders as everyone sang, "Happy Birthday." It felt like one of those moments you wish you could freeze forever, the kind of memory you want to hold on to as time passes. And then, as if on cue, everything changed. Jenna, Sarah's sister, had arrived already tipsy, her wine hidden in a water bottle. A typical move for her. Chaotic and reckless, but usually harmless. Sarah had pulled her aside early in the party, and I could see their tense exchange. Sharp whispers exchanged behind the corner of the living room. But Jenna seemed to settle down after that. She even helped with the games and chatted with the other parents for a while. For a brief moment I thought things might actually stay normal. But then, as the last notes of Happy Birthday lingered in the air and Ethan leaned over to blow out his candles, Jenna, swaying slightly, leaned toward Sarah and loud enough for me and at least 3 nearby parents to hear, slurred, "I still can't believe he thinks the baby is his. You lied so well." The words hit me like a punch in the gut. The world seemed to stop spinning, the sounds of laughter and clapping fading into a dull hum. Sarah froze mid-motion, her cake knife hanging in the air as her face went pale. I could feel my stomach twist so violently I thought I might be sick, but I forced myself to stay calm, to smile for Ethan, who was looking up at me with his big, shining eyes, waiting for me to say something. "Make a wish, buddy," I said, my voice tight, trying to maintain the calm I didn't feel. Ethan grinned ear to ear and blew out his candles. Everyone clapped, completely unaware of the bomb that had just detonated in my chest. I cut the cake, handed out slices, thanked parents, helped Ethan open presents, all on autopilot, just going through the motions. I refused to look at Sarah. I could feel her desperate glances from across the yard, but I couldn't meet her eyes. When the last guest finally left, she came up to me, her voice trembling. "We need to talk about what Jenna said." "Not now," I replied sharply, glancing at Ethan, who was busy showing his new dinosaur toys to his grandma. Not in front of him. That night, I did the only thing I could to hold it together. I focused entirely on Ethan. Bath time, story time, snuggles. I told him I loved him over and over because no matter what, no matter whose blood ran through his veins, he was my son. Always had been, always would be. Downstairs, Sarah waited at the kitchen table, wringing her hands. "It's not what you think," she started. "Then what is it?" I asked, my voice flat. She spun a story about Jenna being drunk and confusing real life with a TV show they'd watched. How could I believe such a ridiculous lie? How could she expect me to? She pointed out how hard we'd tried for a baby, all the months of negative tests and heartbreak. She tried to weaponize our history against the truth staring me in the face. "I'm staying at Dave's tonight," I said, referring to my business partner who had a spare room. "I can't do this right now." "You're leaving over something Jenna said," she pleaded, her voice cracking, not even hearing me out. "I heard you. I just don't believe you." I packed a small bag and left without another word. Sarah called and texted all night, but I didn't answer. I needed space. The next morning I called a lab and scheduled a paternity test. I also reached out to my attorney for advice. Not to file anything yet, but just to understand my options. I didn't tell Sarah any of it. Instead, I sent her a short text saying I'd be staying away for a few days and would swing by for more clothes while she was at work. My priority was keeping Ethan's life as normal as possible. I still took him to preschool on Monday morning. I still smiled, joked, and acted like everything was fine, even though inside I felt like I was dying. 3 days later, Sarah showed up at my office. Julie, my office manager, buzzed me. "Your wife's here. She looks upset." I finished up my paperwork and headed outside. Sarah was standing in the parking lot, clutching her purse like it was the only thing holding her together. "You can't just disappear," she said as soon as she saw me. "You haven't answered my calls. Ethan keeps asking where you are." "I told him I'm helping a sick friend," I replied calmly. "Please," she begged. "Come home. We can fix this." "Is he mine, Sarah?" Her eyes darted away. Of course he is, she insisted. Jenna was drunk and malicious. She's always been jealous of me. I studied her face. This woman I had built my life around. Why would Jenna, of all people, choose that specific lie? Sarah had no answer. I scheduled a paternity test, I said quietly. Tomorrow, I want you to bring Ethan. She went pale. You did what? Without telling me. That's insane. It'll traumatize him. It's just a cheek swab, I said. He doesn't have to know what it's for. Tell him it's a dental checkup. I won't do it, she said, crossing her arms. Then I'll get a court order, I said, bluffing. But it worked. After a long pause, she sagged in defeat. Fine. But when it shows you're the father, you owe me an apology. And Jenna, she's out of our lives forever. I agreed, but I didn't tell her the full truth. I had already swabbed Ethan myself the day after the party using a home paternity kit I'd ordered a while ago. I'd been suspicious for months. Strange messages I'd seen on her phone. One she'd explained away at the time. I hadn't wanted to believe it then. I hadn't wanted to believe it now. But I couldn't unhear Jenna's words, and the results from that home test. They were already sitting in my inbox. I hadn't opened them yet because, deep down, I already knew the answer. The phone call from Sarah had been strange. Her voice was hollow as she asked to meet in person. Not to talk about the paternity test, but about something else. The test kit had sat unopened in my truck's glove box for weeks because I'd wanted to believe her, to give her the benefit of the doubt. But the doubts lingered. After the party, I swabbed one of Ethan's toothbrushes and finally sent it in. When the results came back, 0% probability of paternity, it hurt. But I wasn't surprised. I already knew the truth deep down. Since then I'd been careful. I spoke with my attorney, moved half our savings to a separate account for protection, and documented everything. Jenna's confession, Sarah's denial, the test results. When Sarah asked me to meet her at Riverside Park, I agreed, if only to get whatever this next chapter was over with. She was already there when I arrived, looking lost. Without a word, she handed me her phone. It was a text conversation between her and Jenna. A damning one. Jenna accused her of betraying me, of making her lie for years, of sleeping with Jenna's boyfriend, Chris. The anger and betrayal jumped off the screen. I'd seen enough after a few swipes. When I asked her who Ethan's biological father was, she admitted it was a guy she'd met during her master's program, a one-time mistake during a rough patch between us. She looked at me with tears in her eyes, but I felt nothing for her anymore. I told you the lab results were official, I said coldly. My decision's already been made. I asked her to check her email. My lawyer had sent a separation agreement that laid out everything. Joint custody, asset division, acknowledgement of my legal paternity despite the biology. She seemed shocked that I still wanted joint custody, but Ethan was my son. No matter whose DNA he carried, that wasn't going to change. As for Sarah and me, we were over. 5 years of lies couldn't be undone by a single conversation. She broke down crying as I walked away. I didn't look back. 2 weeks later, life had found a new rhythm. I moved into a small apartment near Ethan's preschool. Our custody was split 50-50ths. Sarah and I only spoke when necessary, and always about Ethan. The divorce was moving along. Jenna tried reaching out once, but I blocked her. No more drama. Ethan is adjusting as well as any child could. He doesn't understand everything. Only that mom and dad live in different places now. I make sure our time together is filled with joy. Pizza nights, dinosaur documentaries, building forts. I savor every moment. Sometimes I catch myself looking at him, wondering if I'll ever see the man who fathered him genetically. But I don't. I only see my boy, the one who calls me daddy, who clings to me when he's scared, who trusts me to protect him. Sarah thinks counseling might fix things between us. She doesn't understand that some wounds don't heal. Some betrayals are permanent. People ask if I'm angry. I was once. Now I'm just grateful. Grateful to know the truth. Grateful I didn't lose my son. The real power isn't in fighting or seeking revenge. It's in refusing to be part of someone else's lies anymore. It's in walking away, head held high, with your priorities in order. Ethan comes first, always has, always will. Biology doesn't matter. To those who think I'm foolish for raising someone else's child, being a father isn't about blood. It's about showing up. About late-night monster hunts, scraped knees, and bedtime stories. That's what matters. As for why I didn't confront Sarah the night of the party, there were children there, including Ethan, thrilled for his birthday. That wasn't the time or place to cause a scene. Adults should act like adults. No, I haven't tried to find the biological father. Sarah says he doesn't know about Ethan, and for now, I don't want to complicate Ethan's life any more than it already is. Maybe someday Ethan will want to know. And when he does, I'll support him. Some say I'm too generous with custody. Maybe. But hurting Sarah by taking Ethan away would only hurt Ethan too. She may be a liar, but she's not a bad mother. I won't punish my son to punish her. Legally, I am Ethan's father. My name's on the birth certificate, and 5 years of being there for him seals that in our state. That's all that matters. A few people noticed I mentioned suspicious texts months ago. They were from someone named Chris. Messages like, "Miss you," and "Last night was fun." When I confronted her, she claimed it was her co-worker Christina. I believed her then because I wanted to. I didn't want to see the truth. But now I do. Thanks for letting me get all this out. I'm focused on moving forward now.